After 3 years overseas, I finally stepped off the plane carrying a duffel bag full of gifts and a heart full of plans. I had replayed this moment thousands of times. Olivia running into my arms. Lily screaming with excitement. The three of us finally together again. I smiled as I drove toward home. I made it, I whispered to myself. 3 years. 3 birthdays. 3 anniversaries. 3 years of missed dinners, missed school events, and missed bedtime stories. But it was over. I was finally coming home. When I pulled onto my street, my smile faded slightly. A black SUV sat in my driveway. I frowned. Who the hell is that? Maybe family. Maybe a friend. Maybe someone helping Olivia while I was gone. I grabbed my bags and walked toward the house. Then I heard laughter. Not just laughter. Family laughter. The kind of laughter that came from people completely comfortable together. My chest tightened. I climbed the front steps and reached for the door. Before I could knock, it opened. A little girl ran outside. My heart nearly exploded. Lily! I dropped my bag. My arms opened automatically. For one beautiful second, I thought she was running to me. Instead, she rushed right past me. I froze. She jumped into another man's arms. The man caught her easily and laughed. There you are, princess. Then Lily wrapped her arms around his neck and smiled. Dad, are we still going to the park? Everything inside me stopped. The world went silent. The air disappeared from my lungs. Dad? She had called him Dad. I stared at the man holding my daughter. Ryan Brooks. I knew him. A local contractor. Friendly. Married once. Divorced now. But what was he doing holding my daughter? And why was she calling him Dad? Ryan looked up. The smile vanished from his face. His eyes widened. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then another voice came from inside. Lily, don't forget your... Olivia stepped onto the porch. The moment she saw me, she stopped moving. The color drained from her face. The bag in her hand slipped and hit the floor. For a long moment, nobody said anything. I looked at Olivia. Olivia looked at me. Ryan still held Lily. Finally, I forced words out. Olivia? Her lips trembled. Jake. Hearing my name from her felt strange. Like hearing a memory. I swallowed hard. I'm home. She stared at me as if she'd seen a ghost. Why didn't you call? What? You didn't tell us you were coming today. I wanted it to be a surprise. The silence that followed felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. Lily looked back and forth between us. Mommy? Olivia immediately took a step forward. Lily, sweetheart, go inside for a minute. But we're going to the park. Please. Lily frowned. Okay. Ryan carefully set her down. She walked inside without looking at me twice. Without recognizing me. Without running into my arms. Without anything. My heart cracked a little more. I looked at Ryan. Can someone explain what's happening? Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Olivia spoke first. Jake, maybe we should sit down. No. My voice came out sharper than intended. No. Explain it now. Nobody answered. I laughed bitterly. That's my daughter. Olivia closed her eyes. I know. Then why is she calling him Dad? Ryan looked away. Olivia's voice shook. It's complicated. No, It isn't. I pointed toward the door. She just called another man Dad. Jake. How long? The question hung in the air. Olivia couldn't answer. That answer told me everything. I picked up my bag. I'm coming inside. Nobody stopped me. That almost hurt more. I walked through the front door. The house looked familiar, but it didn't feel like home anymore. I stepped into the living room and froze. Photographs covered the wall. Family photographs. Olivia. Lily. Ryan. Art. Christmas photos. Birthday photos. Beach photos. School photos. Everywhere I looked, Ryan stood where I should have been. I approached one frame. Lily sat on Ryan's shoulders, both of them smiling. My reflection stared back at me through the glass. I barely recognized myself. Behind me, Olivia entered quietly. Jake. I didn't turn around. How long has he been living my life? Her voice cracked. Please don't do this. Don't do what? I spun around. Look at my own family pictures. Tears filled her eyes. I thought you were gone. The words hit me like a punch. What? We got the report. My stomach dropped. What report? The military contacted us. I stared at her. They said your unit was attacked. Yes. They said several soldiers were missing. I felt sick. But I wasn't dead. We didn't know that. Ryan stepped forward. Jake, maybe we should talk calmly. I laughed. Calmly? Neither of them answered. I looked around the room again. The decorations. The photographs. The evidence. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't recent. This was a life. A whole life built without me. Then small footsteps approached. I turned. Lily stood in the hallway holding a stuffed rabbit. She stared at me curiously. I waited. Maybe now. Maybe she'd recognize me. Maybe she'd remember. Instead, she looked at Olivia. Her voice was small and innocent. Mommy? Olivia immediately wiped her tears. Yes, sweetheart? Lily pointed at me and asked the question that shattered whatever remained of my heart. Mommy, who is that man? The days after my return felt unreal. Every morning I woke up hoping the nightmare would disappear. Every morning it remained. I stayed in a small motel across town because I couldn't bring myself to sleep in the house that no longer felt like mine. 3 days after Lily asked who I was, I finally sat down with Olivia. We met at a quiet cafe. Neither of us touched our coffee. I broke the silence first. Tell me everything. Olivia stared at the table. You deserve that. Yes, I do. She nodded slowly. 6 months after your deployment, your unit was attacked. I know. We received a call from military officials. My jaw tightened. What exactly did they tell you? They said communication had been lost. I remained silent. They told us several soldiers were missing. And then? They kept investigating for months. I leaned forward. And then? Olivia looked away. They declared you missing and presumed dead. The words hit hard even though I already knew them. I rubbed my face. You held a memorial. Tears filled her eyes. We did. I swallowed. You buried an empty coffin. Yes. I looked out the window. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I asked the question that mattered. When did Ryan appear? Olivia hesitated. A few months later. A few months? Jake, answer me. She sighed heavily. I was struggling. We all struggle. I was drowning. I remained quiet. She continued. I couldn't pay all the bills. My parents would have helped. They did. What about your parents? They helped too. Then why, Ryan? Her shoulders slumped. He offered support. I laughed bitterly. Support. He fixed things around the house. I said nothing. He helped with Lily. Still nothing. He listened when I couldn't stop crying. The explanation sounded reasonable. Too reasonable. Something about it bothered me. The timeline felt wrong. The emotions felt rehearsed. I couldn't explain why, but I felt it. After leaving the cafe, I drove to my parents' house. My mother opened the door. The second she saw me, she burst into tears. Jake. I hugged her tightly. It's okay, Mom. No, it isn't. My father appeared behind her. For the first time in my life, I saw tears in his eyes. He pulled me into a hug. I thought I lost my son. My throat tightened. I'm here. Dad stepped back. We should never have believed it. What else could you do? Mom wiped her eyes. We buried you. I looked at both of them. You weren't given much choice. Dad shook his head. Every day I regretted accepting that report. I sat down with them for hours. We talked about everything. The deployment. The attack. The months I spent trying to survive and return home. Then Mom quietly asked, Have you forgiven Olivia? I stared at the floor. I don't know. Dad sighed. None of this is simple. No. It isn't. Later that afternoon, I visited the only person who had always understood me. Emma Wilson. My childhood friend. She opened her front door and froze. For a second, she simply stared. Then she punched my shoulder. You're a jerk. I blinked. What? I spent 2 years mourning you. Then she hugged me. I laughed despite everything. It's good to see you too. She stepped back. You look terrible. Thanks. You do. I know. Emma invited me inside. A few minutes later, we sat on her porch. For the first time since returning home, I felt comfortable. She handed me a drink. So, what now? I stared at the street. I don't know. Do you still love Olivia? The question hurt. Yes. Emma nodded. That makes things harder. Everything is hard. She couldn't argue with that. Over the next week, I started spending time with Lily. At first, she treated me like a stranger. Honestly, I was a stranger. I had missed years of her life. One afternoon, we sat together in a park. She pushed her toy truck through the grass. I smiled. That's pretty cool. She looked up. Ryan bought it? The smile faded slightly. Oh. He buys lots of things. I forced myself to stay calm. That's nice. A few minutes later, she asked, Are you really my dad? The question stabbed straight through me. Yes. She studied my face. Mom says you are. I am. She nodded slowly. Then she returned to playing. Several minutes passed. Finally, she spoke again. Ryan says real heroes don't always come back. I froze. What? She shrugged. He said that's why everyone thought you were gone. I stared into the distance. Ryan said that? Yeah. I felt something twist inside my chest. Not because of the words themselves, because of how they were said. As if someone had been preparing her for my absence. As if someone had wanted me to remain a memory. That night, I couldn't sleep. The sentence repeated in my mind. Real heroes don't always come back. Around 10 o'clock, my phone rang. It was Emma. I answered immediately. Hey. Jake, where are you? The motel. Good. Her voice sounded serious. What happened? I remembered something. My stomach tightened. What? There was a pause. Then Emma said quietly, Ryan had feelings for Olivia long before you deployed. Every muscle in my body went still. What did you just say? I never thought it mattered before. My grip tightened around the phone. Emma. I'm serious. How long? A long time. Silence filled the line. Then she added the words that made my blood run cold. And I don't think you're the only person who never noticed. After Emma's phone call, I barely slept. The words repeated endlessly inside my head. Ryan had feelings for Olivia long before I deployed. The next morning, I met Emma for coffee. The moment I sat down, I asked, How long did he like her? Emma sighed. I don't know exactly. You said it was a long time. It was. I leaned forward. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because nobody thought he would actually do anything. I stared at her. And now? Emma looked uncomfortable. Now I'm not so sure. The answer only made my suspicions worse. For the next several days, I started asking questions. Quiet questions. Questions nobody expected. I spoke with old neighbors, former coworkers, people who knew Ryan. Most of them described the same man. Helpful, friendly, reliable, perfect. Yet every time someone described him, something felt rehearsed. Too perfect. Nobody is perfect. Eventually, Emma called again. I found someone. Who? Ryan's ex-wife. My pulse quickened. She's willing to talk? Yes. 2 days later, I sat across from Hannah Brooks. She looked exhausted before I even introduced myself. The moment I mentioned Ryan's name, she laughed bitterly. Let me guess. I frowned. What? You think he's a great guy? No. Good. She crossed her arms. At least you're smarter than I was. I remained silent. Hannah studied me carefully. Emma explained your situation. Then you know why I'm here. She nodded. I do. I took a breath. Tell me about Ryan. For several seconds, she didn't answer. Then she said quietly, Ryan likes rescuing people. Rescuing people? Women specifically. I frowned. What does that mean? It means he looks for people who are hurting. A cold feeling spread through my chest. Hannah continued. When someone is grieving, struggling financially, lonely, or vulnerable, Ryan appears. And then? He becomes indispensable. I stared at her. You're serious. Completely. She opened a folder resting beside her chair. I brought proof. My heart started beating faster. She handed me several printed messages. I read them carefully. The messages showed Ryan speaking to multiple women over several years. The pattern was disturbing, encouraging dependence, creating guilt, positioning himself as the only person they could trust. I looked up. This can't be real. It is. She handed me another document, then another, then another. Each piece of evidence revealed the same behavior. Manipulation hidden behind kindness. Control disguised as support. I rubbed my forehead. How did nobody see this? Hannah laughed without humor. Because Ryan never acts like a villain. What does he act like? A hero. The answer stayed with me. Before leaving, I asked one final question. Did Ryan ever mention Olivia? Hannah hesitated. Then she nodded. My stomach dropped. When? Years ago. What did he say? Her expression darkened. He said she deserved someone who would actually be there. My fists clenched. He said that? More than once. I left the meeting feeling sick. For the first time, I wasn't imagining things. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Meanwhile, my relationship with Lily slowly improved. One afternoon, we sat together on a playground bench. She swung her legs back and forth. Then she looked at me. Were you really a soldier? I smiled. Yes. What was it like? I thought carefully. Hard. Were you scared? Sometimes. Her eyes widened. Really? Everyone gets scared. Even heroes? I nodded. Especially heroes. She seemed to think about that. Then she asked, Did you miss me? The question nearly broke me. Every day. Every day? Every single day. She smiled softly. For the first time, it felt genuine. Not forced. Not confused. Just genuine. A few days later, she asked to see pictures from before my deployment. I brought old photo albums. Together, we looked through them. She pointed at one photograph. That's me. You were 4. I looked tiny. I laughed. You were tiny. She studied another picture. Then another. Slowly, I watched recognition forming. Not complete recognition, but enough. Enough to matter. While Lily and I grew closer, problems began appearing between Olivia and Ryan. I noticed it during a dinner visit. Ryan interrupted her repeatedly, corrected her constantly, questioned small decisions. At first, Olivia ignored it. Then she started pushing back. One evening, I arrived to drop off some school supplies for Lily. The front door was partially open. Voices came from inside. Ryan sounded angry. I already told you what I think. Olivia answered sharply. You don't get to decide everything. I was trying to help. No, you were trying to control it. The silence that followed was tense. I quietly stepped away before they noticed me. But the argument stayed in my mind. Days later, Emma called again. Her voice sounded urgent. Jake, I found something. My stomach tightened. What now? I need you to see it yourself. An hour later, we sat together at her dining table. Documents covered the surface. Bank statements. Insurance paperwork. Financial records. I looked at her. What am I looking at? Emma pointed towards several highlighted pages. Read carefully. I did. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then I saw a name. Ryan Brooks. My heartbeat accelerated. I continued reading. The further I read, the worse it became. The insurance benefits connected to my presumed death had helped pay household expenses, mortgage payments, debt obligations, other financial costs. Ryan had direct access to portions of those resources after moving into Olivia's life. I stared at the paperwork, unable to speak, unable to think. Finally, I whispered, "No." Emma nodded grimly. My hand shook as I examined the records again. There was no misunderstanding, no confusion, no innocent explanation visible anywhere. Ryan had financially benefited from the tragedy that supposedly brought him and Olivia together. And for the first time, I began wondering whether my disappearance had been the opportunity he had always been waiting for. She covered her face. He lied. I already knew. But hearing her say it felt different. What did you find? Olivia took a shaky breath. Everything. I stayed silent. She continued. He knew people still hoped you were alive. My chest tightened. What? He knew. I stared at her. How? He told others that waiting for you was pointless. The anger inside me grew. Olivia wiped her eyes. He encouraged everyone to move on. I looked away. She kept talking. He pushed that idea constantly. My voice became quiet. Because he wanted my place. She nodded. The movement was barely visible, but it was enough. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I trusted him. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, she whispered, I betrayed you. The pain in her voice was genuine, but so was mine. I know. I thought I was surviving. I looked at the ground. I know. I didn't see what he was doing. None of us did. Olivia cried harder. And for the first time since my return, I felt sorry for her. Not because she was innocent, because she finally understood. The following month became consumed by legal battles. I filed paperwork to fully restore my parental rights. Technically, I was alive. But legally, many things were complicated. Court hearings followed. Meetings. Documents. Interviews. Every step felt exhausting. One afternoon, my lawyer asked, Are you prepared for a long process? I nodded. Whatever it takes. Why? I immediately answered. Because Lily deserves her father. The lawyer smiled. That's the right answer. Despite the stress, something positive happened. Lily and I grew closer. Much closer. One evening, she sat beside me while we worked on homework. Then she suddenly asked, Can I tell my friends you're my dad? The question caught me off guard. I smiled. You can. She grinned. Good. Why? Because you are. For a second, I couldn't speak. Then I quietly said, Thank you. She hugged me. And for the first time in years, I felt hopeful. Real hope. Not survival. Not anger. Hope. Meanwhile, Ryan's life continued falling apart. The investigations intensified. More people came forward. More evidence surfaced. His reputation collapsed piece by piece. Then came the final blow. Olivia finally ended things. I wasn't there when it happened, but later she told me everything. According to her, Ryan showed up desperate, begging, pleading, trying to save what remained. She told me exactly how the conversation ended. Olivia, please. I can't. We can fix this. No. I love you. She shook her head. You loved what I represented. That's not true. It is. Ryan tried again. Don't walk away. Olivia looked directly at him. Then she said the words that ended everything. I finally see who you are. After that, she picked up her things, turned around, and walked away without looking back. For the first time since I came home, Ryan Brooks stood completely alone. The weeks after discovering the insurance records changed everything. For months, I had questioned my instincts. Now, I trusted them. Ryan wasn't simply a man who stepped into my place. He had benefited from it. And eventually, the truth started spreading. The first crack appeared when one of Ryan's former business partners contacted Emma. She immediately called me. You need to hear this. An hour later, I sat across from a man named Carl. He looked nervous. I asked the obvious question. Why are you here? Carl sighed. Because I should have spoken sooner. About Ryan? Yes. I leaned forward. What did he do? Carl rubbed his face. He lies. I waited. He manipulates people. Be specific. Carl nodded. Ryan always found ways to make himself look like the victim. That's not illegal. No. Then what is? Carl slid several documents across the table. I looked down. Invoices. Financial statements. Contract records. What's this? Evidence. My stomach tightened. Evidence of what? He moved money around. How? Through multiple accounts. I stared at him. You're serious? I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. The documents weren't enough to prove criminal activity, but they revealed a pattern. A disturbing pattern. One that matched everything Hannah had told me. As more information surfaced, other people began speaking up. Former clients. Former friends. Former employees. One by one, stories emerged. Each story sounded slightly different, yet all of them shared the same theme. Ryan gained trust. Ryan gained control. Ryan benefited. Then people got hurt. Meanwhile, his financial records started attracting attention from people far more qualified than me. Investigators began asking questions. Lawyers started making calls. For the first time, Ryan looked nervous. Really nervous. I saw it myself during a school event for Lily. He approached me near the parking lot. His smile looked forced. We should talk. I crossed my arms. About what? This situation. What situation? You digging into my life. I stared directly into his eyes. You mean the truth? His jaw tightened. I helped your family. You helped yourself. That's not fair. I laughed. Nothing about this has been fair. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Ryan said quietly, Be careful. The warning sounded almost like a threat. I stepped closer. No. His expression hardened. I mean it. I know. Then I walked away. A week later, everything exploded. Olivia called me late at night. The moment I answered, I knew something was wrong. Jake. Her voice was shaking. What happened? I need to see you. An hour later, we met at a small park. She looked exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept in days. He sat beside her. Talk to me. For several seconds, she couldn't. Then tears appeared. Oh, God. My stomach dropped. What is it? Months passed. For the first time since returning home, my life no longer revolved around investigations, courtrooms, or betrayal. Ryan Brooks was finished. His reputation had collapsed completely. His business failed. Former friends disappeared. Former supporters stopped answering his calls. People who once believed his stories finally saw the truth. But honestly, I stopped caring. Not because he deserved forgiveness, because he no longer mattered. One evening, Emma asked me exactly that. We were sitting on a park bench while Lily played nearby. Emma smiled. So, how does it feel? How does what feel? Winning. I watched Lily chasing bubbles across the grass. Then I shook my head. I didn't win. Emma laughed softly. Pretty sure you did. No. I pointed toward Lily. That's what matters. Emma followed my gaze. A gentle smile appeared on her face. Fair enough. And that was the truth. For months, every free moment belonged to my daughter. We went to parks. We watched movies. We built blanket forts in the living room. We made pancakes badly. We laughed when the pancakes fell apart. We created memories that should have existed years earlier. One Saturday morning, Lily walked into the kitchen. Dad? The word surprised me. Not because she hadn't said it before. Because it sounded natural. Comfortable. Like it belonged. I turned around. Yeah? She smiled. Can we go fishing today? I grinned. Absolutely. The smile on her face was worth more than anything else in the world. As time passed, the distance between us slowly disappeared. Not overnight. Not magically. But steadily. One conversation at a time. One memory at a time. One day at a time. Meanwhile, Olivia continued trying to make amends. One afternoon, she asked if we could talk. We met at a small cafe. The same cafe where we had shared so many painful conversations. This one felt different. She looked nervous. I sat down across from her. What's on your mind? For several seconds, she stared at her coffee. Then she said quietly, I'm sorry. I remained silent. She continued, I know I've said it before. You have. I'll probably say it again. I nodded. Tears appeared in her eyes. I failed you. The words carried genuine pain. I could hear it. I could feel it. She wiped her eyes. I failed our family. I took a slow breath. Olivia. She looked up. I forgive you. Fresh tears appeared immediately. Thank you. But that doesn't change everything. Her shoulders slumped. I know. The sadness in her expression was heartbreaking. Yet it was also honest. I continued carefully. What happened changed us. She nodded. It did. We can't go back. I know. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Then she whispered, I still wish I could. I looked away. So do I. Because part of me did. Not the marriage we ended with. The marriage we started with. The future we once imagined. But that future no longer existed. And pretending otherwise would only create more pain. When I left the cafe, I felt surprisingly peaceful. Forgiveness wasn't reconciliation. Forgiveness was freedom. And I needed that freedom. Emma remained beside me through everything. Whenever court hearings became stressful, she listened. Whenever doubts appeared, She reminded me how far I had come. Whenever life felt overwhelming, she showed up. One evening I thanked her. She laughed. For what? For staying. She looked confused. Where else would I go? I smiled. You know what I mean. Emma smiled back. Yeah. Then she gently nudged my shoulder. You would have done the same for me. She was right. I would have. A few weeks later, the biggest day of the school year arrived. Lily had been excited for weeks. Parents were invited to attend a special event showcasing student projects. The night before, she practically bounced around the house. Dad. Yeah? Don't be late. I laughed. I won't. You promise? I promise. The next morning, I arrived early. Very early. Lily immediately spotted me. There you are. I smiled. Told you I'd be here. She grabbed my hand. Without hesitation. Without uncertainty. Without confusion. Just confidence. Pure confidence. Together, we walked through the crowded school gymnasium. Students showed projects. Parents talked. Teachers smiled. The atmosphere felt warm and joyful. Then Lily suddenly stopped. Her teacher was approaching. Several classmates stood nearby. Before I could say anything, Lily pulled me forward. Mrs. Carter. Her teacher smiled. Hi, Lily. Lily beamed proudly. Then she pointed at me. This is my dad. The words hit me hard. But she wasn't finished. She squeezed my hand tightly. Then she looked at her teacher. Then her friends. Then everyone around us. And with complete confidence, she said, This is my dad. My real dad. My hero. Everything inside me stopped. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. Years of pain crashed through me all at once. The deployment. The loneliness. The fear. The memorial service. The betrayal. The heartbreak. The nights spent wondering if my daughter would ever know me again. Every tea. Every sleepless night. Every moment of despair. All of it led here. To this moment. Lily looked up. Dad? My eyes filled with tears. Yeah, sweetheart? She smiled. Why are you crying? I laughed softly. Because I'm happy. She hugged me immediately. I wrapped my arms around her. And in that moment, I finally understood something important. Ryan's downfall was never the victory. His ruined reputation wasn't the victory. His collapsed business wasn't the victory. Revenge wasn't the victory. The real victory was standing there with my daughter in my arms. The real victory was hearing her call me Dad. The real victory was finding my way back to the person who mattered most. After everything that happened, I finally realized something else. Home was never a house. Home was never a place. Home was Lily. And after years of being lost, I had finally come home.